This took place in the end of summer 2024. I was 27 at the time, working what you could probably describe as a pretty unconventional logistics job. I hauled refurbished electronics and custom PC components for a reliable express delivery startup that was trying to go head-to-head with large online company by serving strange, hard-to-reach rural markets. The routes were long, unpredictable, and changed constantly. Some nights I'd be behind the wheel for 10 hours straight, often driving through the dark, cutting across remote stretches of the Midwest that most delivery companies wouldn't even consider. The pay was solid enough to justify it, and I didn't mind the hours. I grew up in a family that treated road trips like a lifestyle. That night, I was deep into the final stretch of a Tucson to Roswell run. It was about 2 in the morning as I wound through a bleak section of Route 191, skirting the outer edges of Apache National Forest in eastern Arizona. If you've never driven through that area after dark, it's hard to put into words how empty it feels. The road is tight, the lighting is bad, and the darkness presses in from every side. You might pass another vehicle once every 40 minutes if you're lucky. The thing about that stretch, though, is that it's the only practical road through the area for miles. Any GPS detour adds nearly an extra hour and a half, sending you north through places like Show Low or worse. So if you need to get from point A to point B out there, Route 191 isn't really optional. I had a true crime podcast playing when I came around a curve and spotted a blue sedan sitting crooked on the gravel shoulder, hazard lights blinking. I slowed down automatically. As I got closer, my headlights lit up a woman standing beside the car. She had her phone raised above her head, like she was trying to pull a reception out of thin air. My immediate reaction was to keep driving. I'm not a heartless person, but I'm also not clueless about the situations you can stumble into in that part of the state, especially at that hour. Then I thought about my girlfriend, about my sister, about how I'd hoped someone would stop for them if they were stuck out there alone. And I wasn't completely unprepared. I had a Walther PPSM-2 holstered beneath the steering column. I'd never gotten explicit approval from the company to carry it, but considering some of the places we delivered to, it felt like basic common sense. I slowed to a stop and cracked the passenger window a couple of inches. The woman, who looked about my age, hurried over and immediately tugged on the passenger door handle, which was locked. She said she needed a ride to the nearest gas station. Her car, she claimed, had just died, and she couldn't get anyone on the phone. Her voice was shaky, jittery, like she was either overwhelmed or possibly on something. I paused for a moment. Something about the situation felt off. What ultimately pushed me to act was knowing the gun was within reach. I told myself that if things went sideways, I could protect myself. After a few seconds, I unlocked the door. She climbed in fast and muttered a vague, slightly slurred "thank you so much" without really making eye contact. The way she dragged her words together made me think she might be drunk, or at least buzzed, which immediately put me on edge. Before pulling back onto the road, I asked her a few basic questions. Had she hit an animal? Did the motor just shut off? Things like that. She kept dodging them, repeating that I should just drive. Nothing she said lined up, and the more she talked, the more I leaned toward telling her to get out. I was right on the verge of deciding when I looked back at her car one last time. To my absolute horror, a man suddenly stepped out from behind the sedan, like he'd been standing there unseen the entire time. My adrenaline spiked instantly, and I snapped my eyes back to the road. That's when I noticed another figure move directly into our path, maybe 50 feet ahead. He was holding something long in both hands, It could have been a crowbar or a metal pipe. I couldn't tell for sure. He started advancing toward my vehicle, and at that moment, instinct completely took over. I slammed my foot down on the accelerator. There was nothing subtle about it. The woman twisted around in her seat to look behind us and immediately began screaming. Then she bent forward and started rummaging through her purse. I had a pretty good idea what she might be reaching for. Before it could go any further, I shouted for her to freeze and pulled my gun. I didn't aim it at her. I rested it visibly on the steering wheel so she couldn't miss it. Whatever she'd been searching for, she stopped immediately. I told her not to move. She obeyed. To my surprise, she also went completely silent. She just stared straight ahead, her face blank in a way I couldn't read. Fortunately for her, we were about 20 minutes from Globe. After a long, tense 25 minutes, I pulled into a gas station. 2 other vehicles were parked there, both of them big rigs. I told her to get out. At first, she refused and gave some half-baked excuse I don't even remember. I leaned across her, yanked the passenger door open, and forced her out of the truck. She stumbled backward and went down hard onto the pavement, yelling something I couldn't make out. Someone started jogging toward us, probably one of the drivers. I could already picture how this was going to look. From his perspective, all he saw was a man throwing a woman out of his vehicle. I had zero interest in sticking around to explain myself. I shouted a warning about her intentions, but that was as far as I was willing to go. Then I hit the gas and pulled out of the lot before he could reach me, never once checking the mirrors. I drove to another gas station and stopped to fill up. After that, I walked around to the passenger side and checked the seat. Wedged between the cushions was a burner phone battery and a sealed pack of plastic restraints. I didn't even want to process it. I threw everything straight into the trash and got back on the highway, desperate to finish the drive. I never reported what happened. Not to the police. Definitely not to my company. Not because it didn't matter, but because I had no desire to explain to law enforcement why I was armed or why I'd physically removed someone from my vehicle. I'll leave the rest unsaid. You can put that together yourself. All I know is this: being armed that night may very well have saved my life.